Fornhan.Ponsan, and roll now and become part of the story. For this class I've decided to tell you the story of the first official mage. While the concept of mages may have been far older, is this the first time a mage like we understand it today appeared to our knowledge. The setting this time will be a village in about 1540 that had neither much to offer nor a big future to await them. This happened right after a big drought, having put humans to the brink of survival. This drought caused much chaos for all life, and humans of that time were, despite everything, still relatively primitive compared to the modern day. That also included a lack of intelligence, and from this many kinds of strange beliefs, one of which included the sacrifice of another human for the sake to appease the gods. As mentioned, are mages a non-factor during this time, and while you will probably imagine mages as those who use spells, is that the smallest part of their job. Mages are mediators between humans and Magies. We research how Magies live, what they can do, and ultimately reach understanding between us and them. As follows did people of that time see them exactly as they are described and fabled, incomprehensible monsters. This then leads to massive misunderstandings and altered stories of them, or even faked stories to cover oneself. With that in mind, did they see this drought as something caused by the Magies, and to appease them, did they offer a blood sacrifice. As the story goes, was there one villager who lived on his own, not depending much on the rest of the village. It was not as if he was having it much better than the rest of the people, but living separated from them, did they not see him as part of the village, and also denied many things to him. Now under these struggling times did they lure him in, under the pretense of having to stick together to survive. In the end did this lead to the village voting for who to use as sacrifice to appease the Magists. You could not separate the families. They need all they have to maintain their fields and cattle, and wouldn't it be cruel to separate the families? They couldn't just sacrifice the elders, as this may enrage the Magies for getting such low-quality sacrifices. All the men and women that were still single too are needed, as they would be the future of this village. Of all, there was only one person not excused, someone who had neither family, was old, or strong to ensure the future of the village. It is written down that he willingly offered his life for the sake of the village, but I think we can all imagine what the reality of the facts must have been. So they also tragically had to, against their will, offer the outcast to the Magies. He was sent into the forest, and then... Now, this person was like almost everyone of the time, unschooled, which meant that he was incapable of writing down anything that happened once he entered the forest. And obviously is this the story of the first mage, so he did not simply die, but return. But we can hardly believe all that humans wrote down from what he told them what happened. About 500 years are a long time for humans to alter the story, so the next part of the story is reconstructed out of what we humans have written down and what we know from long-living magical creatures of that region, just so you keep in mind to take this with a grain of salt. The man was running through the forest in confusion and fear, being outcasted that he knew that returning to the village would lead to nothing more than his death. He searched and searched for another exit, trying to pass through the forest, to exit through the other side. But he was lost and possessed neither the intelligence to realize that he was running in circles, nor the strength in his body to continue on. After only a short time did he break down, ready to find his demise by starving and dehydration. But those ways of dying were far too slow. In the forest where all life was trying to survive, was such easy prey just an invitation for a predator. What the man saw approaching him was a threatening figure that he could not make out what it was with his vision blurred from his exhaustion. At this moment did the man not feel fear. He already had accepted his death, and as such was this different way of dying no longer something he could fear. For the man, this, in fact, was a relief. Dying of hunger and thirst, he could imagine, would be a painful and long death, so dying in this quick way was a relief to him. But death was not what he was destined for. Suddenly and without explanation did the shadow that had approached him slowly to make sure it was safe to attack the man run away from a brilliant light that chased after it. When he at first saw how another figure had approached him, seemed this as nothing more than another bigger predator having found him as well. But when this one was close enough to give him the final blow, did it speak instead. Ohakko, vilaikyo, vilaikyo. He did not understand the strange words that were neighed at him, but from the tone he could surmise that this being was neither going to kill him, nor like that he was here. He could feel that it wanted him to leave, but it was not as if he had a place to go to. His life has already ended the moment the village had rid itself of him. I just cannot do that. When the unicorn heard these strange sounds the thief for Fornhan gave from it, could the unicorn feel how it exerted emotions of dying. The unicorn felt sad for it, so it decided to drag the thief for Fornhan to the lake. There it then started to move to the water and drink. The man did not know why the strange horse had done this, but now he was here, could he not simply ignore the water in front of him? You saved me, but why? He knew that the strange horse could not understand what he was saying. Nonetheless did he keep talking. I have nowhere to go, and nowhere to go home. What even is the point of living on? While the unicorn did not understand the sound the thief for Fornhan gave from it, did the unicorn feel sadness. Fi la hykyo ahagi, fi for Fornhan lium. When the unicorn was leaving, did the thief for Fornhan move hastily towards it. Tell me how you did that when you saved me. With that I can survive alone. Obviously did the unicorn not understand what the man meant, and this was not just because of the language barrier, but for Magis this magic as natural a thing as breathing. It is something innate every being has, so such a thing as teaching how to use magic does not exist. Of course, under the same race is it possible to teach how to use it, but that only works because there already is a basis there. So for a while did the man simply live in the woods. He was learning from the Magis how to survive like an animal would, and the longer he interacted with them, the more did he start to understand what they were saying. Of course, as most Magis only speak in simple ways, is this far easier than learning languages normally. And with him learning to communicate and live with Magis, did he become the very essence of a mage. And while they don't possess magic, have humans also many traits that basic Magis could never replicate with magic, so in exchange for him helping them, did they help him, and this is how he was able to use magic. But in the end was he still an uneducated man, and in fact was he getting more stupid by living in the forest. While his survival abilities and understanding of the forest rose, did his understanding of humans wane. But the story on how he returned is for another time. What you should take away from this is that mages are built via mutual trust with magical creatures. These days many call themselves mages, but in reality are they nothing more than imposters who use magic tools and knowledge others gathered. A true mage is someone who knows to understand magical creatures.